On Saturday, the 11th of June 1955, it was a beautiful sunny day. So much so that nigh on 250, 300,000 people went to the races. They went to see Le Mans 1955. It had some of the biggest stars in motor racing. Mike Hawthorne, the eventual winner, along with Fangio and Sterling Moss, massive names. You had giants of motorsport, Jaguar, Ferrari, the team that won the year before, and a Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, obviously, from Germany. It was 10 years since the war, but everyone can still remember the bombs dropping. It was a lovely sunny day, as I said, which helped bring out the crowds. This was going to be a spectacular day. Where is Le Mans? Well, Le Mans is on the Loire Valley. It's about 200 miles by road, 200 kilometers by road from Paris. This was spectacular. The week coming up, the weather was fantastic. What could possibly go wrong? Well, let's find out the history of Le Mans 1955. Hit the music. I don't have music. Let's be fair. We don't do the text. We try to do the build up, but the text don't happen. But anyway, got my notes? Yeah, there's quite a few. So I will be doing a bit of reading on this one because I can't remember anything, let alone all these. Thing is, it's all on an iPad, so I don't have the paper. So, thinking of the environment there, this one's taken me about 5 weeks to finalise. I want to do it properly. It needs to be done properly, to be fair. Different blue jersey on today, look. Got my Levi one on. So if you're thinking, hey Andy, we don't normally see that one. Nah. And you can only really see the hood, so I can wear this one again. Or at least I could have done if I didn't just show you the Levi sign on it. Anyway, it was Saturday the 11th of June, as I've already said. It was the worst accident in the history of motorsport. This would go on to change motorsport. As I've mentioned in the past, one rule, but not on this video, of course, so what am I going on about? Doesn't matter. Good thing about these videos is they sort of all mix up. Anyway, one rule for Le Mans. Every car has to have the same fuel. What could possibly go wrong? Well, let's find out, shall we? Anyway, sorry, bit of a cold. Hopefully it's not COVID. Not COVID. I've had my injection in my first vaccine, so hopefully should be all right now. Anyway, what happened was on Sunday, the 12th of June, the Catholics and the Protestants, they joined together in prayer. Imagine that. Imagine Celtic and Rangers fans joining together. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it'll be the end of the bloody world. Anyway, this is a terrifying story of Le Mans crash that killed over 80 people and injured around 180. Spoiler alert, most of them weren't on the racetrack. So, famous the worldwide, the event of the 24-hour endurance race was so popular. The only rules of all the cars, which I've already said, they need to use the same fuel. Other than that, anything goes. So, basically, in modern racing, I could turn up in the Vauxhall Sophia, and you can turn up in your Bugatti Veyron, and you can turn up in your Morris Minor. We all hurl around this track for 24 hours, hoping the Veyron breaks down. Let's be fair, he's not going to have to drive a lot faster than me, is he? So he'd probably be alright. And the Morris Minor behind us, he might struggle a bit. But hey, who knows? Anyway, this is one, but not the only reason for the horrific crash that killed one of the drivers instantly before causing part of his car to incinerate, fling in the air, and become like a guillotine, decapitating the fans watching. So they used a alloy mix which had magnesium in it, I believe. I'll come to that in a bit. But basically, as the firemen, obviously they weren't saving cats at the time, Chris, they were doing something else. The firemen who were trying to put it out with water, because what do you put a fire out with? Water. The alloys in the metal were actually making it worse. It took over 6 hours for this car to stop burning. Imagine that. Anyway, it was a bit of a crusher for the race, and so what did they do? Did they cancel the race? Well, we'll find out a bit later. But this was not the only reason for the horrific crash that killed one of the drivers and instantly, yeah, we've done that bit. The fans were literally behind a small divot, okay? So think of Formula One nowadays, okay? You've got these massive grey fences. The crowd are way back. It's a bit like if you've ever seen rally, you know, and you watch these rallies and they're on the bend and you got someone stood there watching because, well, you're going to get a great view of a car coming at you. It was like that, but with Formula One style cars of the time. I know Le Mans isn't a Formula One track, but it's a similar sort of speed and power of a car. So they're right there. You know, also it's on a road race at the time. It's not like the modern Le Mans where it's a track which has been built. This is a road race for the majority of it. It's got a little bit of track, but the track isn't very wide. And they crammed in over 250 to 300,000 people, as I've already said. So with there being one rule with regards to the specs of the cars, it caused potential dangers that in hindsight were so obvious, but nobody seemed to think about. That's what health and safety is there for. You're opening up, I don't know. Let's take a shop. You're opening up a shop. Well, what are you selling? Okay, what's the health and safety risk of selling? I don't know. Let's go for nil. You know, what would nil buy? Shell suits. Okay, what could be the potential risk of selling shell suits? And you've got to itemize these things, and you're thinking, well, this is health and safety gone mad because, you know, I need my shell suits because I'm going to go and hang outside of Tesco's in Park Parade and I need to look the part. You know, I need to be chavved up. So there you are. Anyway, not sure what chav is, by the way. Australia. I'll put a picture of Neil up later and you'll get an idea. Won't actually put a picture of you up, Neil, because, you know, I don't want that slap head scaring away my 4 people who may watch this video. And you being one of them as well, so you're probably going to get the joke and you're probably going to sit there in your underpants whilst the wife's at work. You know, you did put the bin out so you can pretend to have done something. More coffee. Anyway, where was I? Who knows? Christ, this has only been going on 8 minutes. I haven't got anywhere yet. Anyway, so the one we'll return to that a bit later. Let's start with the track. It was largely a road track, not like the modern race tracks that are used for the modern Le Mans track. I think I've already covered that bit. It's almost like I writ it, forgot it, said it, coming back to it. This was also a time before modern day pit lanes. They changed tyres and refuelling on the main straight. This part of the race is one of the rules that helped to cause the disaster. We'll get into the disaster probably within half an hour. But it's not a disaster story. There was a race to be won. So let's start with the main competitors. First, the main teams, Ferrari, the reigning champions, Jaguar, who won it the year before the Ferrari, and the new Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR had a new lightweight magnesium alloy body. So remember that bit. Okay, the lightweight magnesium alloy body was designed to go fast. Also, the racing superstars involved were the likes of Stirling Moss, Juan Manuel Fangio, still regarded by many as the greatest racing car driver of all time. I also think he may have done bikes. It's not like modern day Formula One. Could you imagine Mercedes saying, oh yeah, Lewis, why don't you go race in the Indies and go and do Le Mans? That ain't going to happen, is it? You know, you're my driver, you drive in my what is it now, 20 races in the Formula 1 season? Not really sure, don't really watch it. Also, Mike Hawthorn, the real excitement was building. It was a stunning Saturday morning, barely a cloud in the perfect blue sky, which helped cram in almost a packed, it wasn't an almost, it was totally packed, between 250 and 300,000. That's the thing. Modern football, you've got 32,000 people at St Mary's. That's your crowd. That's all that's getting in. It wasn't quite like that in those days. We all remember terracing, don't we? Well, most of us might do. Where, we'll get a few more in there. Yeah, that worked well, didn't it, at Hillsborough, sorry. Anyway, they were almost on the track. It wasn't an overly wide track. It was a largely road track. No pit lane. Already done that. To start the race, the drivers stood at the wall on one side, and they would then run to their cars when the flag drops. And then they had to start their car and race off into, and eventually, hopefully, you're going to win. Not sure this would work with Formula 1. Could you imagine? Oh yeah, what we're going to do, guys? Yeah, you've done your qualifying. Well done. You've got on pole, Lewis. But what we want you to do is not sit in the car, strapped in, helmet on, all ready. We want you to run from your pit to your car. Yeah, would you? He's probably, he's quite a fit young man. I'm sure he'll be quick enough. But it's getting on a bit now. There's a few younger drivers. Depends how fit they are. Let's be fair, we've all got different athletic abilities. I think I'd probably be last in the car, to be fair, if it was between, if I take let's pretend they're friends. So Rocky would win, then it would be probably Chris, then Neil, then me. If you disagree, give us a whatever, I don't care. I think Chris would probably struggle getting his fat ass into the car, but that's neither here nor there. So would me, and so would Neil. But hey, yeah, mate, okay, we gotta give it to you, mate. You're probably the least fat out of all of us. Anyway, that's them done. Ariel, you'd have no chance. Anyway, hello, by the way. My mate Ariel, he has a channel. Nice hands. Not sure you've heard of it. I'm not sure you've heard me mention it. If you haven't, get over there and have a look. There you go, my friend. Anyway, getting back to what I was sort of trying to get on with. So they race off, and this is the thing. So they get in the cars. What do? You get in your car. What do you do nowadays? Pop your seatbelt on, check your mirrors. No one checks their mirrors when they get in the car. Let's be honest. You don't go into your car like you do on a driving lesson in your driving test. And you don't go and you check your mirrors. Why are you checking the mirrors? They were fine when I got out of there. They're going to be all right now. Maybe check the one on the wing, on the outside, because I might have pushed it in when I got parked. But other than that, I'll be fine. Anyway, so they jump in the cars. They didn't even have mirrors, by the way. Just spoiler, no mirrors on these cars. You have to look behind you to check it was all right. So you jump in the car. You don't have a seatbelt. What could possibly go wrong? And you don't wear a proper crash helmet. So, have we found any health and safety risks just yet? Let's do a brief recap on some which I may have noticed. Just a few. No seatbelts. No seatbelts. No pit lane. You run to start cars. Tightly packed crowds. For constructors, anything goes as long as your car uses the same fuel. Also, run fact. Most drivers never wore crash helmets. It was only like a leather style sort of flying helmet like you'd see in the First or Second World War. So, to be fair, we all have different types of cars. If we were all to have a race, this is not me eagerly wanting a race. Does having the fastest car help, or one that brakes best would win? For me, yeah, you want a fast car. If you're going to win the race, you need to have a fast car. it's a race, for example. You know, if you were to have a 100-meter race and you had Usain Bolt in it, and then you put me against him, even if Usain Bolt hadn't trained for the last 50 years, he's going to beat me. He's a fast man. But because it's a race and you're going in not just going in a straight line, you need to be able to slow down a bit. So some of the cars would have modern disc brakes. This is long before the likes of the new cars with that ceramic brakes. So you have disc brakes and you have drum brakes. Drum brakes were shit. They didn't really slow the car down much. The way to drive a car with drum brakes is you would go speed up, and then to slow down you would go through the gears. You've probably seen your granny do this. You know, I'm sure Grandma Rocky, she may drive like this if she still drives. That might be the way she does it. Anyway, that's the way my wife does it, to be fair, and she has disc brakes, but we won't mention that in case she watches it. She won't, because she doesn't even know about it, but hey, there you go. Anyway, with disc brakes, you use your accelerator and your gears to go up the gears, then you use your foot brake to slow you down, and then you go into the appropriate gear to get you around the corner. Well, that's how I used to teach it, and that's how you should drive. But there you go. So, the race has now started. We're now 16 and a half minutes in. So, it's better than I was expecting. So the opening stages of the race did not disappoint. Traditionally, an endurance race, both Jaguar and Mercedes appeared to be treating it more like a sprint, with Fangio and Hawthorn repeatedly swapping lap records. Hawthorn openly antipathy towards the German manufacturers. God damn it! God damn you Germans! Following the death of close relatives during the Second World War, merely adding to the determination to crush the Mercedes challenge. Ha. Anyway, so we've been going now for about 3 hours. And then the bit of the story which was to change the world of motorsport forever. On the 35th lap, around 3 hours into the race, disaster struck. Blame and counter blame have continued to swirl around the few seconds that led to motor racing's worst disaster. But the undisputed facts are these. Hawthorn, engaged in a ferocious battle with Fangio, overtook British racing driver Lance Macklin in his Austin Healey. An Austin Healey in a race, anyway. Before realising that he has been called into the pits, he veered across towards the pits, braking sharply. Macklin took evasive action, drifting off the track to the right before coming back across it into the path of the Mercedes driver Pierre Liège. The Frenchman, doing 150 miles an hour, had no time to react, and his right front wheel rode up on the back of Macklin's car. Liège's Mercedes was launched into the air and catapulted off the track, it colliding with an embankment and disintegrating. Liège himself was thrown back onto the track, where he died instantly. Debris, including his car's engine block, flew into the crowd, its bonnet lid shivering through the spectators for 100 meters, decapitating those in its path like a terrible automotive guillotine. The rear of the car burst into flames, the magnesium alloy adding to the intensity of the flames. Like I said earlier, putting water on this really wasn't helping. Chris, maybe in the comments you could put a little bit about this, if you do watch this, about what actually happened, because I don't actually have the science behind it. I just know it's bad. You probably know a bit more about this, being a fireman. So, you know, maybe you could share that in the comments. That'd be great. So a quick look at some differences in the specs. Hawthorn's Jaguar and Lance's Macklin's Austin Healey. Due to Hawthorn's sudden braking, let's start there. This was in the 1950s, so most cars had drum brakes. With these, they were a bit rubbish. So you would slow down using the gearbox, like I've already said. There are the type of brakes used on the highway code. So when you have your highway code, you have your braking distances. Not sure you have this in Australia and the Philippines. You know, And America, I don't know what you have in your highway code, even if you have a highway code, who knows? Also, quick side note here, did you know France was the first country in the world to bring in the driving test? I've driven over there, you wouldn't know it. Anyway, so in the highway code it says at 20 miles an hour to brake to a stop from 20 miles an hour, it's going to take you 40 meters. And at 30 miles an hour, it's going to take you 75 meters. And at 40 miles an hour, it's going to take you 120 meters. There's a, yeah, there. So this was put in way, way back because that's how long it used to pretty much take. And that was an average. And nowadays, you know, you see on things like Top Gear, Grand Tour, they do brake tests and they're stopping at 180 miles an hour in under 100 meters because they have brand new ceramic brakes. This wasn't there because every car has ceramic brakes. You're not supposed to go 100 miles an hour, but there you go. But that's what it was there for, and that's why it stayed the same. We know modern cars' brakes are a lot better than those. So, but anyway, so that was it. So, yeah. He had shit brakes. You slam your brakes on in front of me. What am I going to do? Going to go back at you? Or am I going to go try and survive and carry on in the race? That's what he tried to do. And in many ways, it wasn't his fault. But, you know, the other lad, he had a race to try and win. So he had to get in the pits. Personally, for me, where was it? Hang on. Oh, I'm stuck. Let me go back a bit. Who was it? For me, yeah, it was Fangio's fault. Personally, that's what I'd say. It was Fangio's fault. The greatest racing driver in the world, for me, helped cause the worst crash in the history of sport. But that's me. Others will have a different view. So Hawthorn had the more common nowadays disc brakes, which work, which you only need to brake to slow down. Basically, this was by far the biggest health and safety risk of the race as far as the cars go. Back to the crash. Carnage reigned as well as Levy. 83 spectators were killed and hundreds were injured. That spectator, you know, that isn't confirmed. That is roughly, depends on which website you go on, so you can never really get a definite answer there. But 83 spectators were killed and hundreds were injured. Hawthorn, who had overshot the pits, came into a lap later with tears streaming down his face. In the stands, people used advertising banners to carry the injured and the dead, while others frantically searched for loved ones and priests performed last rites. Yet, inexplicably, perhaps unforgivably, the race continued. The American Formula One driver John Finch, who was Levy's co-driver, was standing with the Frenchman's wife when the accident happened, urged Mercedes to withdraw from the race. If nothing else, he urged the PR disaster for the German manufacturer to have been seen to be cavalier about French bloodshed would be catastrophic just a decade after the guns had fallen silent in Europe. Yet the decision had to be made at the highest level. So basically, they went to all of the Mercedes hierarchy before at 1:45 a.m. they pulled the Mercedes out of the races. They were the first and third at the time. A senior member of the Mercedes team approached Jaguar at the time to suggest that they too might like to retire from the race in an act of solidarity. The Jaguar team leader, Lofty England, whose name seemed to sum up the Hawtley attitude, declined. What a name! What a legend! Lofty England. Wow. Wonder where he's from. Maybe it's unfair to judge the actions of England and the Le Mans organisers' actions by modern standards, but their response was clearly an unfolding tragedy of memento proportions. Seems scandalously cavalier. The organisers' justification that cancelling the race would have caused an alarm crowd to gridlock the roads to hamper the emergency service seems implausible. It would not have been hard to close the and car parks, and anyone that would have cancelled it at 3 a.m. when the crowds were at their thinnest. But to be fair, you can understand where they're coming from. It's not like a modern F1 race where you have basically a hospital at the circuit. You know, you can deal with multiple incidences. You have helipads, you have all manner of firemen, paramedics, doctors. They're all there. You know, each team has its own doctor or doctors. I don't know. I'm not in the Formula One. I don't actually go to the pits. But you can sort of understand that, you know, if something as tragic as this could happen today, I don't think the crowd part would. But if something like this was to happen today, you can contain it. Not like this. It was Hawthorn and his co-driver Ivor Bude who were to win the race with a record average speed of 106 miles per hour. Hawthorn was still distraught after the race, though an ill-judged moment saw him smiling and sipping post-victory champagne that was captured by the photographer and appeared in the French magazine Le Auto Journal with the bitter caption "A votre santé, Monsieur Hawthorn." Yeah, you love my French, don't you? Anyway, to your health, Mr. Hawthorn. Inevitably, the days and weeks that followed saw a search for blame that stretched into months and years. The official injury cleared all drivers of any fault and instead pointed out that the track was woefully unprepared for a race of such speed. Yeah, you're not wrong. The course had been built in 1923 when cars had a top speed of 60 miles per hour. It had only minor adjustments since then, in spite of the fact that the cars could now reach speeds 3 times that. But abolition of the hands of the inquiry did not stop some of the sports from assigning blame. Many suggested that Hawthorn had cut in front of Macklin and braked too hard. Sorry, it was Hawthorn, not Fangio. I do apologise, Fangio. Take back all I said. And braked too hard, including Macklin himself. There were reports that immediately after the incident, Hawthorn had been weeping and admitting culpability. If that was the case, he changed his tune and denied the fault was his. Supporters of Hawthorn and Jaguar counterclaimed that both Macklin and Levy, who had been a veteran of 50 races when he died, lacked the competence of such high-speed racing. Wow, that's it. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Macklin. You know, you blame the man who died. Yeah, that's right. It reminds me a little bit of the scene in Schindler's List. I know this is getting a bit dark now, but there's a scene with the chicken in Schindler's List, and Ermin Hoff, whatever his name was, he gets one of the prisoners and he shoots him dead. And then the little boy there, he's crying, he's weeping, he steps forward, he goes, "You boy, you know who the man who stole the chicken is?" And he points at the man he just killed. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit dark. Anyway, it became a rather messy and unedifying. In 1958, Hawthorn's autobiography reasserted his claim that he was not to blame. Macklin suggesting that his was directly implicating himself. Super liable, the claim was still unresolved one wet January day in 1959 when Hawthorn was killed driving his Jaguar on the Guildford bypass, ironically enough, overtaking a Mercedes at the time. Bada boom. And what of the legacy of that dreadful day? Well, improvements were made to the track at Le Mans, and the stand in the pit straight was demolished. Motor racing was immediately banned in several countries across Europe until safety standards were improved. Indeed, Switzerland has still to lift its post-Le Mans shutdown. At the end of the season, both Macklin and Finch retired, as did a number of other drivers involved in the race. Fangio never raced at Le Mans again. And Mercedes withdrew from motorsport entirely and only returned to the sport in 1987. Imagine that. You know, the crash was so bad, it was perceived by your company to be that awful that you just took yourself right out of there for 32 years. Doing all right now though, aren't they? You know, they certainly raced Lewis round okay. But some matters pile into insignificant when set against the horrors of that day in northwest France. The real legacy of the disaster was that the lives of 84 people, it seems to have gone up just through this video, were brutally cut short. People who had simply set out one sunny June morning to enjoy the sport that they loved. Well, I hope you found some of that content interesting. Just over half an hour. Not bad, actually. I was expecting it to possibly go on a little bit longer. But I do hope you enjoy this video. Obviously, you know, if you see me pre-video, I hope you have watched this one. It's a good story. It's a sad story. It's a terrifying story. But it shows how a sport goes from very, very loose rules, and when disaster strikes, wow, what went wrong there? That's why, people, we have health and safety at work, and we have health and safety at work acts. I may do another video on health and safety at another time. But do enjoy your day. Day off today. It's pouring with rain. Fantastic. Storm expected tonight. Something to look forward to. Hope the weather is better where you are when you watch this. You know, you could watch this next summer when the sun is out. Who knows? But as of, sorry, not sure what the date is. Let me just have a quick check. As of Wednesday, the 10th of March, 2011, the day of the recording, the weather's a bit shit. There you go. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Like I say, do please give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. Chris, if you do watch this and you know a little bit more about magnesium alloy and how it catches fire, then please do give us some comments in the comments below. Please make it about that rather than slagging me off for my stupid long hair and my silly glasses. But there you are. New glasses, by the way. I'm sure you've noticed over the last couple of weeks. They do look a little bit better. They don't go sideways like the other ones did. I did get those comments and I made sure, okay, I'll take that one into mind. Yeah, and yeah, could do a little bit of a shave as well. Might do that before the next video. But do enjoy the rest of your day, people. Do share this video on your social media if you could. That would be fantastic. Give us a like and I'll see you, pals.